Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I am a 78-year-old Connecticut Yankee, second generation Connecticut Yankee. My mother, Allah Shalom, was also born in Hartford, Connecticut. How can I start? Should I tell you the truth that when I look at the list of rabbis today, I almost don't know anyone? Should I continue and cry to you that there were times when I was invited to lecture every week and now nobody remembers me? But that's also not really true. The point that I want to make is I have a lot of information of past and present Gedolim, information that is not known by many people and that may interest you. And therefore, in this, let's hope, series of lectures, I intend to give you things that you probably haven't heard before. I intend to talk about my father, Zatzal, Rabbi Irving N. Weinberg. I intend to talk about Reb Aaron Kotler Zatzal, about Reb Mendel Zaks Zatzal, about Rabbi Soloveitchik Zatzal, my personal Rebbe, about Reb Moshe Feinstein Zatzal. And I also intend to talk about some people who are not Zatzal, but who are still alive and kicking. For example, in my first year of high school at Yeshiva University High School, Manhattan, which was then called TA, Talmudical Academy, my first year Rebbe was a young man named Moshe Tendler. I was a new student, and he was a new Rebbe. And I had to be tested, and he had to be tested. And the one who tested him was Rabbi Mendel Zaks Zatzal, who was a son-in-law of the Chofetz Chaim. And Rabbi Mendel Zaks would come into the class, ke'ilu, to test us, but he was testing the Rebbe. And then Rabbi Mendel Zaks would ask somebody to take a cigarette and break it in half, because he liked half cigarettes, strong. And then he would ask questions, and the one who had the honor of breaking the cigarette had special privileges, and of course I was the one who broke the cigarettes. Anyhow, I have all kinds of stories to tell you about past Gdolim and about present Gdolim, classmates of mine who, I must admit, unfortunately were better than me. For example, Harav Abba Braunspiegel was a classmate of mine, great Rosh Yeshiva. Harav Hershel Schechter, who was head of the Kollel at Yeshiva University, was a younger Talmid of mine, etc., etc. My purpose is to give you information that you probably have not gotten from other places. Some of it is interesting, some may be a little less interesting. Some things are funny. In fact, I think I'd rather start with something funny. I have a grandson who had the honor of being a Talmid of Reb Aaron Lichtenstein Zatzal. And I still have a ke'ev when I say Zatzal to Reb Aaron, about Reb Aaron Lichtenstein. It's too close, it's too close. Anyhow, Reb Aaron would always make a Seudat Purim in his home. And he invited the students. Among the students who was invited to the Seudat Purim was my grandson. And what do you do at a Seudat Purim? You drink. I think my grandson learned to drink from me. Anyhow, at this particular Seudah, Ketov Libam B'yayin, my grandson, the Chotzuf, says to Reb Aaron, you know, Rebbe, I heard that you were a great basketball player. And Reb Aaron Lichtenstein, in his bass voice, said, really? Yeah. How do you know that I was a great basketball player? And my grandson said, because my grandfather told me that you were a great basketball player. And Rav Lichtenstein naturally said, and who is your grandfather? And Aaron said, my grandfather is Rafi Weinberg, better known as Raphael S. Weinberg or as Ray Weinberg, who was a friend of yours, and you were at his oifruf, and you were at his wedding, and Says Harav Lichtenstein to my grandson, now I understand. Compared to Rafi Weinberg, I was really a great basketball player. Anyhow, I have stories about all these people. I have stories about, for example, when I studied, usually in the summer times, in Lakewood, Lakewood was not very thrilled about YU, about Yeshiva University. And when the Mashgiach accepted me, Reb Aaron Kotler was great. Reb Aaron Kotler accepted me as a Talmud and found me a Chavruta and everything else, and that was fine. But the Mashgiach, whose name was Reb Nosson Wachtvogel, didn't really like the idea that there were YU boys coming there. So the first day after Reb Aaron Zatzal found me a Chavruta, Harav Wachtvogel, the Mashgiach, gets a hold of me, grabs my hand and says, when I think of the golden domes of Yeshiva University, I feel very bad, he says. Because as far as I am concerned, the golden domes of Yeshiva, and lo taturu acharei levavchem is Herzog, ve'acharei neichem is Cook. And he gave me all kinds of problems, but it was fun. We had a good time. And therefore, various anecdotes of that particular period of time I intend to share with you, Im Yirtzeh Hashem, for as much koach as I have, and as much as you want to hear. I'll begin with a Dvar Torah. Very short, for the present. I have a PhD in Jewish history, whatever that means. Anyhow, I won't go into the beginning of this, because they'll cut me off. But when they say PhD, somebody says PhD is piled, high, and deep. You see. Anyhow, I didn't say that, no? Anyhow, I have a PhD in Jewish history, and somebody once asked me, can you describe Jewish history without really going into too many details? Surely don't give us names, because we hate names in Jewish history. I go to the blackboard, if there is a blackboard, and I make a picture of an upside down triangle. I begin with the base, and I get down to the point. You understand me? Now, and I say as follows, this is Jewish history. We begin with a pretty good period. Success and more success. And we get to the greatest points of success. at the same time, with the success, you also have more balagan. However, okay, we get to this point. When we get to this point, all of a sudden something happens. Call that thing that happens, if you want, chas v'shalom, a churban, a shoah, a minor catastrophe, a major catastrophe, and little by little, we start going down until we reach the point of the triangle. And at that point, it's really a bad churban. It's a big problem. And then, when we reach this point, all of a sudden there's a new beginning. B'kitzur, my dear friends, we find always at the end a new beginning. And when we look at the people who are at the new beginning, they're all Chazal, they're all scholars, they're all great men. And we have a series of triangles. And if you're going to ask me today, where do we stand? I don't know. We have problems. But this is what I mean by the kind of stuff that I want to teach you. So, if you want, let us begin.